It's David with Black Owl Guitars and Kazoo Theory Shop. I'm here in the shop today with another episode of Guitars and Gardening. We talk about some guitars, we talk about some gardening, we have a good old time. I'm going to pull out a guitar project I'd sat on the back burner. You've seen it in the background of some of our other episodes. It uses a particular art technique that a lot of people think is very ancient, and it's really not ancient at all. We're going to talk about that technique and where it came from. Then we're going to pop out to the front porch. I found an unwanted visitor in our hydroponic pond. We're going to check him out, talk about him, and then we're going to remove him. Let's get to it. So some of you may be familiar with what is commonly known as Aboriginal dot painting. You'll see it in Australian artwork. It's an art technique used by Aborigines to tell stories about their belief systems and culture using animals and different colors paint, but they use dots to make the shapes, not lines. You know, a lot of people think that the art movement is ancient and it's something that's gone for thousands and thousands of years, but actually it was started back in 1971, a mere 50 years ago, by a man named Geoffrey Barton. Geoffrey Barton was hired as an art teacher to Aboriginal children, and he saw that a lot of the stories that the elders were telling, they would draw pictures in the sand. But then once the story was over, they would cover it up, and it seemed like those stories were lost. And so he encouraged the children to paint murals of the story on walls and things. But a lot of the stories for the elders hold a lot of secret knowledge and about their beliefs and cultures that they really didn't want Westerners to know about. So when the children started painting these things, they became concerned. So Geoffrey had an idea. He said, why don't we hide some of those secrets in more abstract forms using dots? And we'll use dots to paint rather than lines. And that became what's known as the Pupunya Tula art movement. And a lot of people have tied that to maybe pointillism back from the 1880s with Georges Seurat, and where he uses dots to paint a picture, and where pointillism really deals with more everyday objects like people outside, or dogs or cats or birds or trees. Aboriginal dot painting deals more with culture and belief systems and the stories that deal with Aboriginal history. And so fast forward here today, 50 years, a lot of people, you're seeing some of this Aboriginal dot painting in some modern art. And it's kind of cool. I've even done a few pieces I'll show you. This is a little piranha I did in a river here. And you can see the piranha is black and the colors around him. I also did a crawfish in the mud. This was our crawfish Nebuchadnezzar. It used to live in our aquarium. And then here on the Neuse River in Newbern, we're very familiar with garfish, and I did this garfish, but you can see there are no lines, simply dots to make the image. And you'll notice I use different size dots on this particular image. And that got me to thinking, I thought it might be kind of cool to have a guitar with a dot painting on it. And so I drew an elephant image and started making him out of dots. You may have seen this in some of our other episodes. I've mentioned it. It's been sitting around. But you can see we have a long way to go with a lot of dots. So let's pop over here. I'm going to show you how we get this done. I've gotten my supplies together, and you can see I don't need anything super complicated to do a dot painting like this one or the ones I've shown you. I've got a few dowel rods, some toothpicks, a pencil, some acrylic medium, and some acrylic paints, and my surface. Let's get to it. So there you have it. A little Aboriginal dot painting. I think it makes for a cool and unique design for a cigar box guitar. I'm going to let that dry. What you really want to know is, who is the unwanted visitor in the pond? Let's go check it out. Hey, we're up here on the front porch next to our hydroponic pond. This is where we transfer plants out of our big pond below to become overgrown, and rather than get rid of those plants, we bundle them and put them in here to keep and continue to grow and sell those bundles to other pond keepers. We have everything from hornwort to anacris to pickerel rush and parrot feather. We also have a few little baby fish that came in with the plants from below, so they don't get eaten. They also fertilize the plants a bit. It's kind of cool. Now up here in this upper part of the pond, this is where we're going to start doing some hydroponic growing of some vegetables. We're going to start with some greens like Swiss chard or spinach, something like that. But as I was looking at this and getting it ready, I found an unwanted visitor in here that would cause a problem for these little fish down here. We're going to spin the camera around and take a look at it. So here's a little visitor right here. This is a leech. He is very interesting to watch swim. Leeches get to ponds on plants and rocks and different things. Not sure how this fella got in here, but definitely came from one of the plants at some point. Probably had to go down through the pump, up through the tube, and shoot out through the top to get up here in the waterfall area, which was probably a little bit of a wild ride. You don't want leeches in your pond. They can cause problems for your fish, like parasites and infections. They'll get on other plants and they'll transfer to other people's ponds. So we're going to remove this guy, but I wanted to give you a look. Very weird little critter. Alright, we were able to pull Mr. Leech out of the pond. Look at him. He is moving quick across the bottom of this glass. You can see him wiggling around. Strange little fellow there. We've talked about some Aboriginal dot painting. We've removed a leech from the pond. This has been another episode of Guitars and Gardening. www.blackowlguitars.com. Thanks.